So I had Bogut, Bargnani, and Boozer as my 5, 4, and 3. You had Boozer,
Gordon,
Gore.
Gordon, Boozer, and Jefferson.
Who was your number 5?
Ben Gordon.
Oh, Ben Gordon. That's right. What about
Yeah.
so number 1 and 2 are of course Amari and Joe Johnson. Which one did you give number 2 to?
I gave it to Joe Johnson.
Same here.
It's a terrible contract. It could easily be number one. The only reason I put Amari top was because Joe Johnson still gives you
Yeah,
something.
same
I mean,
exact reason.
he still plays. Brooklyn is playing pretty well right now as of late, and they could even catch up and get that number 2 seed because Darren Williams had a bit of a rejuvenation, and he's turning back the clock a little bit. He had that amazing raining threes game the other night that set an NBA record even.
Yeah.
So Darren Williams and Joe Johnson getting on the same page in that backcourt, and Brook Lopez having a breakout season in the front court. The Nets, they could make a playoff run. I'm not saying they're good enough to beat Miami, but that conference final spot against Miami is up for grabs, and they can certainly make a push for that.
Well, they better get past Tankadelphia tonight. Right now they're losing.
Your team's winning?
Phillies won like 2 games in all of 2013, but right now they're up 5 on Brooklyn, 6 minutes to go.
Hey, you beat my Lakers. First day of the year.
That very different team. But yeah, I'm with you there on Joe Johnson. He at least gives you something. 17 a night. Now that number's going to go down the next couple of years. You have to remember that. And he's on the hook 3 more after this one. He's on the hook for $89 million. Danny Ferry had to move that contract in the worst of ways.
He should get the GM of the Year award for moving that contract. Everyone was saying that was unmovable. If the Knicks can move Amari, then give the award to whoever the Knicks GM is. I forget who now, but yeah, I mean it was unmovable, unthinkable, and he pulled it off.
I think he just saw a guy in Mikhail Prokhorov who was getting impatient, and he said, look, this guy promised this team would be a winner in 3 years. This is going to be year number 3. You give him Joe Johnson, guess what? They're going to be a winner. They're not winning any championships, and I'm going to be off the hook for $23 million a year, but he's going to have himself a winner.
Danny Ferry was basically like, they're going to become the new Atlanta Hawks. We're transferring that to you, the permanent 4 and 5 seed that, doesn't get past the second round. Second round purgatory.
Hugo, patience is a virtue in the NBA, and Danny Ferry clearly has it. Mikhail Prokhorov does not, and he used him and absolutely abused him on that trade. My number 1 contract is Amari Stoudemire, and I'm sure we have the same reason. At least Joe Johnson gives you something. Amari Stoudemire may not be able to play out the rest of this deal. He's on the hook for 3 years, $65 million. And he may be sitting lounging out in a home down in Florida by the time that final year kicks in.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's the injury risk alone wouldn't have warranted a $100 million deal at the time,
Yeah.
Let alone his playing standards that hadn't been the same already.
Well, he wasn't really an injury-prone guy though at the time. He never really had a ton of injuries in Phoenix, and if you remember, he got off to a great start with the Knicks.
Well, he had multiple microfracture surgeries in your knees, and once guys gone through that, the red light goes on.
But I mean, look, I'm looking at the numbers here. In the first 8 years in Phoenix, 5 of those 8 he played 79 games or more. Now he had the 06 year where he missed the whole year, and then he had 2 in there where he missed about like 30 games. Those are miniature injuries, but I don't know. Maybe my memory's different from yours. I don't know. I don't ever remember him as being a really injured guy, but I guess you're right with the microfracture. There were some signs there, I guess, when they signed that contract.
And he also had the eye thing as well, that he was out for a while, and a little bit of that. But I mean, still, I think that was a classic New York Knicks move. You overpay a guy who doesn't deserve the money. And you bring a big name to town, and that's what the New York Knicks have done over the years, and with with fewer successes than they would have hoped for. But
It was
yeah, I mean, he's now on the hook for 65 million, 3 years, and like we said earlier, they're not gonna get out of that in a hurry.
no, but I remember that summer because I was in New York that whole summer, and I'm telling you, that city believed they were going to get LeBron James. And once it became clear that you were going to have to get him with a secondary piece, the thought was, okay, we need to get a secondary piece. We can lock in Amari. We're ready to go with Amari. LeBron, you come to New York, you're going to have Amari Stoudemire right next to you. So that's why they made the deal. I mean, I remember there was
And that's why LeBron turned them down.
Yeah, no, that and he made up his mind 2 years ago where he was going. But I remember there was a bar right across from my apartment that was offering shots all around to everyone in the place if LeBron was going to choose New York, and they put the decision on, and everybody left very thirsty that night. So anyway, a lot of bad contracts in the NBA. We can thank LeBron's decision for a lot of it. I mean,
oh yeah.
How much do you think Joe Johnson and Amari Stoudemire are like LeBron James right now?
Oh,
Think
yeah.
they send him a Christmas card every year?
Yeah, he probably gives them kickbacks. That was just a godsend for those two.
All right, Hugo, man. Let's hope we can do this sooner around next time. But of course, whenever we get a chance, we'll bring out another episode. And always a good time, partner.
Every time.
All right, let's do it again. Try next week. If not, we'll do it the week after that.
Okay, great, man.
Later.
See ya.